Hello everyone and welcome back to another small talk paint table. This week we are going to be talking about the Mk.VI Space Marine from the Age of Darkness box. Now, this is not all stuff from the Age of Darkness box. I have a Mark IV resin head here from a Bits box, as well as a Mark III Lightning Claw, because of kind of the theme we're going through with this paint job. So not all of this is from the Age of Darkness box, but these bits are pretty available if you want to do something like this Space Marine yourself. So we are going to start with some Vallejo primer through the airbrush, some white this time. Now, normally I don't go flat white, but we're going to be using a lot of inks and contrast paints through an airbrush to paint this model. So I figured having a nice vibrant primer would help us in the long run. Yeah, just shooting this through the airbrush. I really enjoy the Mk.VI sculpt, and you'll kind of see me nerd out about it on the podcast this week. But man, it's a fun little canvas for a Space Marine. Excuse me. It's a fun little canvas for a Space Marine. It really is. It's very modular. You can tweak backpacks and heads and arms very easily off the core body, and in so doing get lots of poses with different weapon options and really kind of create, whatever your heart desires for whatever chapter or legion or whatever you want to do. They are definitely not relegated to the deep dark past of the Horus Heresy. And in that, I think this is probably one of the best kits GW has released in a while. So now that we're done with that, that priming, you'll see I have removed the pauldrons, and I have mixed some kind of navy blue paint from Privateer with a lot of purple ink from also Privateer Press. So the reason I'm doing this is because this is going to be a Tiger's Claw Space Marine, a chapter from the campaign book, The Badab War. I nerd out about that a lot. It's one of my favorite settings for old Marines. I kind of prefer it to the Horus Heresy, as cool as the Horus Heresy is. The Badab War has just some really, really fun, very kind of, I wasn't playing at the time, but mid-period stuff. So we're going to draw some like tiger stripes and blotches all over this guy with purple. Then we are going to go over his casing on the undersuit with some Mechanicus Standard Gray and some other parts, kind of getting him, getting our colors blocked in. Then we're going to mix up some yellow ink with some Zealot Yellow from the Army Painter. You can see where we've grayed in everything that's going to be gray. And we're going to mix that up, and we're going to cover him in a couple layers of this to kind of get this cool yellowy orange that you'll see we build up on the model here, and that darkens down the purple as we go across and turns it more into a brown, though I do think the flatness of these surfaces made this technique rough with ink. So if I went back and did it again, I would just use purple paint. because I have to go in later with some black paint and kind of cover the splotchiness of some of these tiger stripes. As you can see, it's kind of more of an orange now, and now we're going to go in and cover those metallic areas with one of my favorite basing paints, Boiler Black. It's not actually black, it's metallic, but it's a very dark metallic that lets you kind of work up from there. It's not as bright and shiny, doesn't really make the thing look like a toy, which, depends on the paint job you're doing. Things looking like toys is fine. That's not a dig, but it's an aesthetic choice, and it was one I was hoping to avoid with this particular miniature, despite the very kind of 90s-tastic color scheme we've got going here, the very bright and poppy colors on this Space Marine. He's definitely not camouflaging in any terrestrial environment I could think of. Yeah, the Tiger Claws are a fun little scheme. They barely have any source books. They're not a major legion. They're practically nobodies, but that's kind of what I like about them. So as you can see here, we've done the backpack, the vents, the blades on the lightning claws, all that stuff. And now I'm going to go in with a mix of Telmar Black from P3 and Liquitex Black ink to kind of fill in the undersuit and make that a little darker. We're going to do that. And I believe we do that on the hose leading from his power pack to the lightning claw on the right, as well as going in and blacking in a lot of these tiger stripes that just unfortunately still look kind of splotchy. That's what we're going to be doing in this step right here. Now, after blacking in those areas, we're going to take some Dawn Stone and very lightly highlight the ribbing of the undersuit, kind of in a dry brush motion, but with a little more paint on the brush to kind of make the undersuit stand out and not just look like a black rubber mat he's got on under his power armor. Now that we have finished highlighting all the black areas on our Space Marine, I wanted to add a area of interest on the power coils of his right-handed power claw. This Mk.VI power claw has more of a energy weapon feel to it than the kind of Edward Scissorhands vibe that I get from his left power claw, his Mark III power claw. So I wanted to do some OSL, and I started that by dry brushing on some white paint, and then going back and highlighting our metallics to just get that out of the way. We did that on pretty much every forward-facing surface with a very, very bright metal color to really kind of sell light reflecting off those metal parts. Sorry, this shot is a little out of focus. I apologize for that. The process of making these, it took longer than I thought it would when I initially started them, but this whole podcast experience and making videos for the miniatures we paint on the podcasts has been a really interesting adventure, and hopefully you'll start to see some improvements starting in the very near future, when we kind of figured out more of what we were doing audio wise, and hopefully adding more visual elements to the podcast to come. And yeah, sorry for that little aside out of the way. Again, we're just going around. Highlighting is whatever you want to make of it. I think it can make models look very good. I think sometimes my sausage fingers can make the highlights look very chunky and uneven. So that can sometimes be a problem. We also went in and did his eyes in metallic, and you'll see why in a bit. So now we are going to take some plasmatic bolt and using contrast paints to blend and make OSL effects is really good. I really like that color for this, where you kind of block in and it stays wet a little longer, so you can kind of blend out that glow effect over everywhere we dry brushed white. And that white paint being there gives us that kind of energy glow effect. You could also use something like this if you wanted to paint like a ghost and make it look all, ectoplasmy and stuff. But I thought this green glowing effect would really pop against our very warm orangish power armor and kind of our more drab detailings on his tiger spots and all that stuff, and kind of run the energy up the power core and a little bit down his claws to really sell that those are, power cores connected to a sharp as hell energy weapon strapped to his hand. Yeah, this is one of my first times trying OSL by hand and not by airbrush. I've done it on my Redemptor Dreadnoughts for my Ultramarines with a airbrush, and it worked okay. But I really enjoyed trying out this process by brush, because that's a way people have done it for a really long time. Then we also dropped some plasmatic bolt in his eye lenses to sell that just being kind of the glow of the power armor, the color I chose to go with. And then we are going to panel line him by going in, and all those little ends and crevices and everything on his power armor is going to be have Agrax Earthshade dropped into it. The kind of warm neutral brown of Agrax Earthshade would serve to kind of give more depth to the model, and again, not make him look like a very flat, cheap plastic toy. So now, some more freehanding. I didn't think I could freehand the official chapter badge of the Tiger Claws, which is essentially a chapter badge of a different chapter that is kind of just a little different. So I decided to make one up, and it's just 3 kind of geometric shapes. It's not the best, but it's all right. I think the lines are pretty straight, and the colors, goodness, are pretty full and not chalky or see-through. And this was kind of a fun experience to try, and I think I'll definitely try more stuff like this, because the only way you get better at it is by doing it, and improving at stuff like that is part of why I do this hobby. I think it's a lot of fun. Yeah, you can tell that part of the video is sped up, and I was very happy when I completed it. So now his shoulders are off, and I have mixed up some basing material. Now, what I did here is I have a dental tool, and I mixed a bunch of blue paint with Mod Podge and sand, because I wanted him to be on a very blue sanded environment. So I just went in, and this kind of gloopy mixture is put all around his base, where it will dry and hopefully have some more texture, which I think it does. I really like the way this model comes out. And I think a lot more models should be on Alien Worlds. It's very strange to me how every Warhammer model is trumping through muck and mud that looks like any muck and mud field you would find here on the planet Earth. Because there's a lot more planets, and it doesn't just have to be tyrannid infested worlds that get all the weird alien plant growth and vents and strange colors. Like, we can expand it. We can go beyond. Again, I have him not as much in focus here, but it's just taking a dental tool, spreading it around the base, trying not to get too much on the power armor. A little is okay, because he's meant to be kind of stepping through it, but I don't want it to be just all over his feet, because I liked the way I did his feet. And we're gonna put his shoulder pads back on, and he'll be ready to rock and roll on this strange alien planet after we let the base dry, do some dry brushing with a lighter blue to kind of pick out the raised areas of the model, and then we're going to go over his base and do the rim of the base, because I thought it was a little unclean, needed some tidying up. Yeah, my hands get really sweaty when I've been working on a project for a long time, so I was in full, I don't want to get my hand oil all over this poor guy and have his paint start to slough off. So yeah, here he is. And you can see in these final couple pictures the dry brushing and the rim cleanup. And that's it. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.